Hello everyone. For this video, what I wanted to show you to do, which I think is the most critical part of this painting for grisaille, is this 9-step value scale. You're going to slowly mix your black and your white to get these even gradations. And you can see here I've already begun this process. This is really important because this is going to be the foundation. This is going to form the overall structure of your painting. And remember, this is the painting that we will do for our grisaille. And so basically what you're going to do eventually is be able to just take a look and determine what value you're looking at, whether it's the whitest whites or the blackest blacks. And there are some true whites and there are some true blacks in this, but most of them are going to fall into this category right here, mid grays. And you want to slowly take a look at plugging in those values broadly first and then working with more specificity over top with the details. So I think this is the most important part of the painting, and this is the groundwork. This is the very foundational aspect of what you're going to do, mixing the values as opposed to trying to mix them as you go. You can kind of plug in the values. So what I do is I started this process already because it takes a little bit of time. But I've got my white on one side and I've got my black on the other. That's our 1 and our 9. And then what we're going to do is mix those in even increments to get our value range here. Again, our 9 values, essentially 7-step value range if you don't include white and black. I worked from the darkest to the lightest. You could go either way, but I think it's good to go this way first because that way you can see how far the black actually goes. So I'm going to go for this one here. So I've got 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm going for this one right here. I'm just going to do a touch of black, wiping off my palette knife, going with my white, mixing that. And what you'll see is that the black very, very quickly shifts the white towards a gray. And then I can slowly add more. You're only going to shoot for mixing about a teaspoon of each paint. Another thing that you could do is once you've mixed this gray, is you could take a little bit of it and drop it here to start the next value. Or in other words, take this and move it here. Right now that's darker than that, so that's not good. So I'm going to swipe this off, take a little bit more white, trying not to cross-contaminate here. And keeping these in little even sections, you have to squeeze down the paint to make sure it's thoroughly mixed. And you can kind of squint to get a better idea. This is still looking darker than that. Take a little more white. And then this looks pretty good. We can see that there is definitely a distinction between this and this. From here to here, there's a step. From here to here is a step. From here to here, there's a step. I might add a little bit more white to this. And then I'm going to mix my last two. I'm going to put my white over here to get my 9 steps. This should go pretty far, and this is a lot of paint. If you look at each one of these sections, this will be enough to do our entire painting. Plenty. And then you might have leftovers. You are going to wrap it in saran wrap as you go. It's nice to have paper towel nearby if you need to clean up any wipes, wipe up any spills. Also swipe this. I'm going to take a little bit of this gray. So now I've got that was this 4, that's that 5, kind of our middle gray here. I'm going to move this over here, take a little bit of the white, and go for the 3. There is true joy in this process. I hope you enjoy this. I think if you can do this, you can paint. I know a lot of you recently have told me you're nervous about oil painting. This is a big part of it right here. This looks pretty good for number 3. So we have, remember, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And so I'm going to take a little bit of this. And you can see there's a step between there and there. Now, if these look too close, you need to adjust them. Take a little bit of this. This will be my last one that I have to mix, my number 2. Put my white over here. Swipe this, so I start with a clean palette knife. I think there is a true joy in this process of mixing the values, and this is a lot of the hard work is going to be right here. You can obviously blend, so say you had to put this value next to this value and they're still wet on the canvas, you can intermix between the two of them. But as you start to look and you squint at this, that's the trick, is start to evaluate the values, squint at it to see, is this a number 1? Is this here perhaps a number 7 or maybe a number 6? And then you can do a little bit of blending in between, a 1, a 3, a 9, a 9 with a little bit of 3 and 1 over top of it. That's going to be really, really helpful. This is the majority of the painting. You're doing the hard work now, and I think there's an actual, like I said, there's a joy in doing this. And this is maybe a little bit on the shy side of not much paint, so I'm going to take a little bit more of this gray, intermix it here. And there's a nice step there. I don't know if you can tell at home on your screen, but there's an pretty even increment. If they look too close, then you probably have to adjust one, but go slowly, increment to increment. This whole process probably took me about 20-30 minutes. Maybe it will take you a little bit longer this first time, but as you get more experience in this, it will go quicker. You're doing the hard work here. Remember, this white is the 1, this black is the 9, and you'll have 7 steps in between to get our entire value range. The next step we're going to do is to block in our value. So what we're going to do is we're going to use white and we're going to use black, and on our canvas we're going to paint in the spots that we think are white. We're going to paint in the spots that we think are black. That gives us a really good kind of snapshot of the color or the value scheme, and then we're going to plug in the values in between as we work. And it's a good idea to kind of work light to dark because it's easier to kind of cover up that way as opposed to putting the light colors over the dark. So once you've done the white and the black, go back from your 2s, get all your 3s all the way to build up this grisaille painting. Remember, grisaille painting is just a black and white monochromatic painting meant to make something historically look sculptural. That's why I picked this shell. I think it's very great to do this, so you really emphasize the three-dimensional quality. You're going to seal this up with some saran wrap as you're working, so that if you do this for multiple sessions, which I know it'll take you multiple sessions, you'll still be able to use this palette. And it's a good idea to keep your palette knife nearby as you're painting in case you need to, you run out of value, you need to remix it. If you run out of a value, it's nice to still know where that value plugs in. So trying to keep your sections separate. So each of these stays very, very separate as opposed to pulling your black over here or pulling your gray over here and starting to paint on there. Keep your brush specifically in these areas and clean out in between. This is the hard work. This is the difficult thing to do, and it's not that difficult. Now, like I mentioned before, I like this process. There's a fun aspect, kind of a meditative Zen-like quality in mixing your paints, whether it's black and white, whether it's color. Sometimes people think they're just going to start to paint and I'll figure it out as I go, or I'll mix that value when I get to it. Do the hard work first, lay out your palette, and that's the majority of your painting right there. Peace.